For those of you living under a rock, you should go and check out the much hailed LP, Gracie Abrams' The Secret of Us, 7 songs, which Audrey has written for that particular LP, including I Love You, I'm Sorry, Risk, That's So True. So you should go and enjoy that particular music.
Have known Gracie since she was 10 and I was 11. And we've been very, very, very tight friends since then. Uh, I always felt with her this like sort of cosmic and really fun connection. At the time where I wrote this song, I was writing a one-woman show and I just picked up my banjo guitar and I thought, I'm gonna write a song that could open my one-woman show.
All right, we're very excited. A new singer-songwriter who's bursting onto the scene. Not if you're familiar with her, but in this particular avatar, she's got us all going.
So I'm crazy. That's usually not my thing.
The brand new album, Who's the Clown, is her debut album. It released on the 15th of August. It's already streaming on all streaming sites, and we're going to be banging it on the radio. Please welcome Audrey Hobert. Hi, Audrey. Welcome
Hi.
to India. From all your fans of Radio 1 India, how are you doing?
I'm great. This is surreal to be here, and you have a great voice for radio.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Audrey, you started off being a writer for television. It's not easy to make the transition from writing shows maybe on a kids channel like Nickelodeon to writing music. What were the biggest challenges you had to grapple with when you moved from mainstream television writing to lyrical songwriting?
Ooh, well, it's interesting. I found that it was much easier actually to write music um, in general than write for television. Um, I enjoy both. I would love to go back to TV one day or just long form screenwriting in general, but I very quickly felt like it just was easier for me to write music. I don't know why, but it was the case for me.
I'm going to go out there on a limb and say your album is really for everybody who thinks they're an underdog. Is that a nice way to describe it? I mean, people who don't follow the regular mold, people who are sometimes scoffed at, looked down upon, especially younger people. People can be really cruel in school and college, and then maybe we grow up. Some of us are nicer. Would you say Who's the Clown is for all those people?
I think you nailed it, honestly. I haven't heard anyone use the word underdog yet, but I always have had a very, very, very soft spot in my heart for underdogs in movies and TV and life. And I have at times felt like one as well. And I actually find like the more I get into this job and the less I feel like an underdog, the more confused I feel about myself. And I think that there's a way where feeling like an underdog, being an underdog can be a crutch, especially if you're naturally outgrowing something like that or a position like that. And so I feel like that's the growing pains that I'm in right now, actually, is maybe that I'm not so much of an underdog anymore.
Nice. Okay, let's go track by track on some of the tracks I really enjoyed. Sue Me, I Want to Be Wanted. I love that lyric.
And being a saint is exhausting. See me, I wanna be wanted.
Yeah. Hmm.
All of us ache for love, Audrey. All of us ache for affection and companionship. And, damned if you do, damned if you don't in this world, yeah? Talk to me
Yes.
about that song.
I mean, yeah, it's entirely true. I do sometimes feel sue me is like a phrase, a common phrase that I would actually say a lot in my personal life. And now that I have a song about it, I've had to switch to saying call me crazy. Sue me is about having an ex-boyfriend, or I had an ex-boyfriend that I knew he was still in love with me, and we happened to be at the same birthday party for a mutual friend, and it had been a few months since our breakup, and I had taken up Pilates, and I was feeling good about myself, and also hadn't been with anyone since him, and I knew that I was risking disregarding his feelings in a rude way by taking advantage of him fleeting desire to feel wanted. So I think that's really what that song is about, and I wouldn't be surprised if I wind up in a similar situation again one day.
Bowling alley. I mean, I remember there was a time in India where shooting pool and going bowling was like the in thing to do.
Wow.
And we'd spend evenings just going out bowling. Some of us sucked at it, some of us were really good at it, or shooting pool. I wonder if that's still a thing in your part of the world, going out to a bowling alley. And talk to me about that song. It seems you just having a lot of fun with your friends in the video.
I see it and it's striking. It's a bowling alley party I forgot about.
So I had my cousins and my sister come and be in the music video with me because we all grew up making dances over the summer in my grandma's basement, and this just felt like too amazing of an opportunity to not have us all live out our like basement dreams together. And then as for bowling alleys or shooting pool, it's not, I feel like those two things are not something that people my age necessarily plan to go do. It's more like if you're out having dinner and you don't want the night to end, it's nice to go do an activity instead of just sit at a bar sometimes. So I have found myself going, do you want to go bowling? Yeah, and then I don't know why I chose that to be the setting for the song. It just sort of rolled off my tongue and I was like, okay, I guess this is a song about a bowling alley.
Nice. Let's come to wet hair. It's such a thing about such a thing, girl thing, isn't it? You girls don't like to go out with your hair wet. You
Yeah.
have it blow dried or dry, or at least dry. So,
Yeah.
is that where the song came from? But talk to me about the deeper meaning.
Sad old me showed up with wet hair like it did.
Well, so Wet Hair was the first song that I wrote and finished by myself, and it's about the same guy that Sumi is about, and Sumi is about the second time that him and I met up post breakup, and Wet Hair is about the first time, and I remember having this experience with him meeting up, and then thinking about it in the aftermath, and trying to figure out what the most interesting part of the evening was, and pertaining to me, I found it funny that I was meeting up with my ex for the first time after breaking up, and usually I feel like in that situation I would want to look as presentable as possible, but I ended up going to this bar to meet him, and I had just showered and I just went with wet hair, and I thought, I think there's a song in that because why didn't I put more of an effort into the way I look to go see my ex for the first time? And it was, I guess, because I knew that regardless of how I looked, he likely still had feelings for me. So I thought, I'm not going to even put an effort into my appearance.
That's so wonderful. Sometimes it's just, why should I
Yeah.
put effort into my appearance? There's another song. There's no video out for it now, but I quite like it. I mean, it's called "I Like to Touch People."
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily a sensual or a sexual thing. It
Yeah.
appeals to me because, I like to give bear hugs to people. It's just one of those
Yeah.
things. So talk to me
Yeah.
about that song or where the inspiration for that came from.
Yeah, that was another early song that I wrote for the album. I was just at home alone one Friday night and I was watching a documentary about the comedian Steve Martin, and I found his life story to be so fascinating and inspiring because it seemed like he tried a bunch of different iterations of him as a live performer and a comedian, and it seemed like it all really clicked once he decided to just be his entirely strange self. And at the time where I wrote the song, I was writing a one-woman show, and I just picked up my banjo guitar and I thought, I'm going to write a song that could open my one-woman show. And I wrote I Like to Touch People, and it is about that. It's the beginning, you think, okay, maybe is she talking about like actually physically touching people? But then you realize that it's about my favorite thing in the world, which is when I feel like I've impacted somebody just with my friendship or whatever it is I've said to them in passing at a party. I like that feeling more than I like anything on this planet, and I thought it would be the right way to open my album.
Sex and the City is such a massive show worldwide. I mean, there are as many people now watching it in India and other regions of the world than the US. Would that be a possible entry point into the song Sex and the City?
I started watching Sex and the City during COVID, um, and I had never seen it before. And I remember it was an interesting time for me to start watching it because the entire world was shut down, and I had never felt more lonely or isolated in my entire life. And I was so jealous of these women and their fancy, cool lives, and the I was just mourning a world that felt like I don't know if that world's ever going to be the same, or if we'll ever get to be together again, or take the masks off, or how long it will be. And yeah, I think when I wrote the song, I was more thinking about just how kind of I'm still coming to terms with the fact that my life is not a television show. And um, I love TV so much. I feel like a character a lot. Um, and it is such a massive franchise. And for a good reason, it's a really, really amazing show. And I know it's about women in their 30s, but I think you can relate at any age.
Audrey, just curious to know. I mean, just like New York City is this massive giant of a city, the city that I live in, Mumbai, is 22 million people at last count. We are by the sea, but a lot of us live in these small apartments, and we prefer to do our creative work in the apartment. To save time, even though the ocean is close by. I wonder where you do most of your writing. Is it in apartments or is it out in parks? Tell me.
I would say I get a lot of ideas out on the go, and for that reason, I'll utilize the notes app on my phone and write ideas or lines there. But I'm really writing songs in my apartment, just entirely. Like if I'm really gonna hunker down and really work on a song, I like to be at my desk, just in my house, and yeah, but also I can't help when I start thinking about a song I'm writing. So wherever I am uh is when I write, I guess.
There's also a video for Thirst Trap which is out.
So I'm crazy. That's usually not my thing.
Really cool video. and,
Thank
and
you.
I noticed that in your videos, because you direct them yourself, for those of you who don't know this, who are watching us or listening to us, a couple of videos of Gracie Abrams, which we shall talk about, and her own videos. Audrey Hobert directs herself. So, talk to me about the idea for the Thirst Trap video and the song itself.
Like Sue Me and Bowling Alley were two songs that I wanted to be singles in part because I had video ideas for them. Um, and then when it came to Thirst Trap, that was a song that my record label loved so much and wanted to be the focus track when the album came out. And it was not a song that I naturally had a video idea for. So I knew I was obviously going to make a video anyway. So what I would do was sort of take long walks around my neighborhood and listen to the song and wait until I had a visual in my head. So when I would take these walks, I knew that when the choruses started that I wanted to be jumping in slow motion in front of a painted backdrop. I knew that when the down note towards the end comes in, I wanted to reference a scene in High School Musical 2. These visuals would just sort of come to me as I would take these walks. And I honestly didn't know if the video was going to wind up being good or even make sense. And that's also why I edit them so that I can make sure that they make sense because there are so many talented video editors out there that I've worked with. But when it comes to my stuff, it's not that I only trust myself to turn in a final product, but it's just easier for, I think, everyone involved if I'm at the helm. And the song was one that I wrote on the guitar last summer. I was sort of in the throes of a very intense summer crush, and I was feeling discouraged by how often I was thinking about him instead of thinking about anything else, and it ended up making me feel actually like a very boring version of myself. And so I wanted to write a song about a crush kind of through the lens of I wish I wasn't feeling this way.
Your record label sent me a note, and the note says that Chateau, the song, which I quite like, is an idea that came out of a Grammy after party. Now
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so Chateau was the second song I wrote, and I wrote that the day after I had attended um, this after party for the Grammys. And I I have found myself, because of my friendship with Gracie, she's always brought me along to industry parties or parties of famous people, and um, it's just sort of a crapshoot whether or not I'm going to have a good time at them, because if I'm in the mood to observe and not totally always the one being spoken to or be the one speaking, I can really enjoy those things because I love to people watch, and there's very fascinating people at those kinds of industry events. Um, but then also sometimes it can make me feel sort of not human, because it's like I'll be in a full conversation with someone and it's like they're not even looking me in the eye. They're just looking past my shoulder to try and see whoever's famous behind me. And so it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in, if I'm going to enjoy that feeling. But yeah, this particular Grammys after party, I was sort of just like, felt like the only feeling I had was this is so stupid. Um, so that's why I wrote the song Chateau. It was sort of like a not a cry for help, but like a last straw of like, I am done feeling like a ghost at these things. I am so worth talking to. I wish people would talk to me more.
When somebody from your record label reached out for this interview and went, she's new and this is a debut album, Who's the Clown, yada yada yada. I already knew about you because I'd seen you in a Gracie Abrams video.
Yeah.
I'd seen you performing with her on stage, and of course, this is a wonderful little chat that you and her had done during Risk, and I went,
Yeah.
yeah, I know her, and instinctively, I thought in my mind about, and you've just confirmed my thought. There was a phase in my life when I had this actor friend of mine, and I used to go to all these industry parties. And he's a really handsome dude, and I was the nerdy guy with spectacles who was with him everywhere. And of course, he's a really great guy, and he was like, "Listen, you're far more talented than me, and it's just great hanging with you and things like that." But I've always felt that way, which is why your music and you speak to me. I've
Oh,
always been the underdog, the odd one out. But because of my talent, I was surrounded by all these famous people. So I mean, I really wanted to know what Shadow is all about, and so thank you so much for doing that. Okay,
yeah.
just a bit about your friendship with Gracie. I mean, these songs, I love you, I'm sorry, Risk, I love them. I love the videos, and of
Thank you.
course, that massive global hit. That's so true. Um, just talk to me about that friendship. I mean, I believe you guys were flatmates at one point in time.
Yes, we were. Us being roommates was the reason why we wrote all of those songs together. I mean, I have known Gracie since she was 10 and I was 11, and we've been very, very, very tight friends since then. Uh, I always felt with her this like sort of cosmic and really fun connection that I didn't have with anyone else on the planet. And uh, my sophomore year at college in New York was her freshman year, so she sort of like unofficially moved in with me to my studio apartment, and we spent a whole year together. And it was honestly, if I had to choose a most fun time in my entire life, I that would be way, way, way up there. And yeah, when we officially moved in together in LA in April of 2023, it only took us 6 months to start actually creatively collaborating, and I had never written music before, and she was obviously very established, prolific, amazing at what she does, and it just naturally happened between the two of us one day where we started writing songs, and never for a moment did she make me feel like I didn't know what I was doing. And I always felt respected and heard by her. And it was a true collaboration. And the success of her songs that we wrote together, it will always be one of the crowned jewels of my entire life, because in those songs, I simply hear our friendship and our connection and just the kind of rapport that her and I have that I don't have with anybody else. And yeah, I mean, I also would not have discovered songwriting had it not been for her. So I'm indebted to her for that and so many other amazing things. And I'm mostly just grateful to call her truly one of my best friends on the planet.
For those of you living under a rock, you should go and check out the much hailed LP, Gracie Abrams' The Secret of Us, 7 songs, which Audrey has written for that particular LP, including I Love You, I'm Sorry, Risk, That's So True. So you should go and enjoy that particular music. I wonder if you've ever been to our neck of the woods. Have you ever been to India on a holiday? If so, whereabouts? And if you've not been, are you excited about coming?
Well, yes. I mean, so it's funny, I'm 26 years old and I only left the country, or I only left America for the first time this year, um, to go perform in London and Berlin and Amsterdam. And I really, really enjoyed my experience abroad. I actually had a roommate my freshman year of college from Istanbul. And I remember after a year of living with each other, shortly before we moved out, she sort of grabbed me by the shoulders and she said, "You don't belong in America. You need to go somewhere else because you are going to feel so much more connected to the people elsewhere than here. The best people are not in America, they are other places." And I've always remembered she said that to me. And so I haven't gone to India yet. I cannot wait to. I just hear specifically about the way that it changes musicians' lives. Like so many musicians I know and have heard of have gone to India and have just felt impacted beyond compare and like changed for the better. So one day I will get out there. I hope it's soon. I have a feeling it will be, and I really can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to visit, and most importantly, maybe come and perform for us somewhere.
I would love to.
Fingers crossed on that one. Was there any a female artist, a lady who you grew up saying, "Wow, I want to be like her," listening to her music?
I mean, I I remember loving Taylor Swift's music at such a young age. Um, it would be the fattest lie of my life to not mention her. Um, yeah, from a very young age, I always sort of recognized her singularity as a songwriter, and just also having grown up now, when I look back at her career and how she impacted me, one of the things I'm most impressed by with her is how willing she was to be a role model to young girls and how sort of clean she kept her image and how the like lack of swear words in her songs for the longest time. It's just really, really impressive as I'm starting to venture into this career now. And um, yeah, she's she's the greatest of all time.
I wonder if you heard any of the rockers. Did you listen to Avril Lavigne, Alanis Morissette, any of those rockers?
You know, I definitely liked the Avril hits, and my mom always preached Alanis Morissette to me, and I do love a lot of Alanis Morissette's music. I don't know everything, so I don't want to come out and say I'm the hugest fan. I don't want to, just say a fib, but I do know what an icon and a legend she is. Um, but no, not really. I felt more connected to pop.
Hip hop. Audrey, thank you very much for speaking to Radio One. And like I said, we're going to be playing your music, and we can't wait to have you back here in India.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this chat so much. It was really nice to meet you.
94.3 Radio 1.